Everyday injustice. Too many wrongful convictions. Corruption has infected the criminal justice system, leaving too many people helpless, fighting for their lives. Instead of receiving justice, people suffer. Is that why they say justice is blind?
Hello, and welcome to the Everyday Injustice Podcast. I'm your host, David Greenwald. For the past 10 years, we have operated Vanguard court watches in California, including San Francisco, Sacramento, and Yolo counties. Our goal? Expose everyday court injustices, and now, more broadly, shine a spotlight on injustices in the entire criminal justice system, in the form of wrongful convictions, police and prosecutorial misconduct, and mass incarceration. This podcast hopes to take it a step further and highlight criminal justice reform on a national level.
Everyday injustice.
Today on Everyday Injustice, we are going to be talking with the Gaucho's Underground Scholars Program, and we have the program coordinator, Melissa Ortiz, and we have Juan Braun Budell, who is a student in the program. So welcome to our show.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here.
Thank you so much for having us here. Thank you.
Yeah, so can you tell us what the Gaucho's Underground Scholars Program is?
Yeah, the Gaucho Underground Scholars is basically the program here at UC Santa Barbara. It's an organization that basically provides critical guidance and support to formerly incarcerated and system-impacted students here at UCSB. We work with college students inside and outside to basically outside of prison, and just to basically build a pathway and a bridge, making it a possible safe transition from prison to the university, and just getting them adjusted to the whole academia and the whole rigorous aspect of what it is to, be in the UC system or Cal State and stuff like that. So, and then we do this through our 4 pillars of recruitment, retention, advocacy, and wellness. And basically through those 4 pillars, we created this pipeline from prison to the university.
So we are a statewide program. So we're across all UC campuses. And this is giving, like Juan said, giving a population that normally wouldn't think about getting an education, the opportunity to actually have access to getting a higher education. I know myself have, experienced some stuff in my past that would definitely turn me in the opposite direction from ever thinking about getting an education. And through programs like the Underground Scholars, it makes it possible for us to actually have that chance to change our lives, get an education, and continue to use our experience to continue to help other people in the same position.
So, kind of run us through what kind of the big points about the program. How does it help system impacted students, and what kind of support does it provide them?
I think that I can speak from my own experience and say that for me, what I have experienced within Underground Scholars is just a safe place, a community where I can collaborate with people who are just like me coming into the UC system. I felt a lot of imposter syndrome. I felt like I didn't belong here. I remember my first quarter at UCSB. I sat in on a class, and I remember just listening to the other students talking, and I immediately froze and was like, I don't belong here. What am I doing? This was a mistake. These students are using words I've never even heard of before. I could never be on this level. And I think knowing that I had the support from a community of students that were just like me, who came from a similar background, who were formerly incarcerated, system impacted, had experienced a lot of the struggles that I had experienced, made me feel a lot more at ease being in an environment like a UC campus, which can be intimidating for somebody who's not system impacted or formerly incarcerated, but especially for people in our population, it kind of helped me ease into it. And I think that that's very important. Not only that, we have access to resources at different campuses, and we're able to be a part of something that's so much bigger to us and allow us to feel like we have a purpose in bringing more students who, are formerly incarcerated and, like I said, wouldn't feel like they had this opportunity normally.
I feel like you both probably have an amazing story to share about how you got to this point. I don't know if you want to do that or not, but I will give you the opportunity if you do.
Yeah, I can start. I am born and raised here in Santa Barbara. And there was a lot of trauma in my childhood. Don't need to go into those details, but it did lead me down a pretty dark path. I started using drugs at the age of 15 years old, getting kicked out of, school and high school. And from there, kind of getting introduced to the justice system as a juvenile, going in and out of juvenile hall and kind of learning what that whole system was like. And I often will say that for a majority of my teen years and even leading into adulthood, I didn't really think that I had a purpose. I thought that my purpose was just what I was doing, using drugs, selling drugs, living on the streets, in and out of juvenile hall. I didn't know that there was another life outside of that. That was what I was so used to. That was what I was comfortable with. I think comfort is the big word there, because a lot of times, stepping outside of your comfort zone is the worst part, right? So once I went into adulthood and started, going into actual county jail and seeing, oh, okay, now things are really changing. Now things are getting weird. Now I'm seeing a different side of it where I wasn't just, juvenile stuff. I was now looking at, 7 years of prison time for my crimes that I was doing using drugs. And that's a long time, and I was given the opportunity while I was in jail to either do my time, go to prison, or I would have one last shot to change my life. And that was to go to a year-long residential treatment program here in town. So obviously I decided to go to that treatment program. I went to the Santa Barbara Rescue Mission, and for that year, I really had the opportunity to focus on myself and think about what I wanted to do. It was a pretty intense program. And I knew that at the end of that program, I had to really focus and decide on what I wanted to do. Did I want to completely step out of my comfort zone and change my life, or did I want to just trickle back down to the life that I was so used to? I knew that I had to make a change. Being so heavily addicted to drugs for so long had really done a number on me, taken a toll. And I think the best word that I could use to describe my mindset at that time was exhaustion. I was completely exhausted with myself, with my lifestyle, with basically everything. So I had to really decide like what I wanted to do. And I knew that with my record, getting a job, let alone a job that was going to help support me living in a place like Santa Barbara, there was no way that I was going to be able to get a job that was going to support those needs if I didn't have a degree, because I had a record, So I decided to start at Santa Barbara City College, and once I started there, to be perfectly honest, I did not have any intention of going any further than just getting my AA, and trying to figure it out from there. But once my time at Santa Barbara City College was coming to an end and I had to figure out once again, what I wanted to do, I got presented the opportunity to apply to 4 different universities for free through a program that they had at the city college. And so I thought, okay, well, why not? I mean, they're free. I don't have to pay. So let me just see how this goes. I ended up applying to 4 different universities. And to my complete and utter shock, and I still can't believe it to this day. There's a lot that I can't believe about what my life is today. But I got accepted to 3 of the 4 universities that I had applied to. And I had choices. I had never had choices like that before. Like, these are positive choices. Like, I can decide out of 3 different great universities. I think it was UC San Diego, UC Santa Barbara, and UC Davis, where I wanted to go. And since I'm from Santa Barbara, my family's here, and I had actually come and done a tour on the campus at UCSB, and that's where I actually got introduced to Underground Scholars, and the founder for Gaucho Underground Scholars was Ryan Rising, and I heard him talk about it, and I was like, wow, I had no idea that there was a program for formerly incarcerated individuals like myself that wanted to pursue their higher education, pursue their, their goals and get a degree. And so I chose Santa Barbara. It was the obvious choice. There was a lot of resources here, housing and Underground Scholars being one of them. I decided to accept the offer to UCSB. And I came in as a comm major and took 1 sociology class and was like, oh, okay, that's what I need to be doing. Sociology is where I belong. And I completed my degree. I graduated last year with my bachelor's in sociology. And I actually will be starting now in January. I'll be starting in Pepperdine for their master's program for leadership and higher education, and was offered the opportunity to actually now work as the coordinator for Underground Scholars, as our founder has moved on to grad school, and I'm able to kind of carry on the work that he has started and hopefully continue to expand our program here at UCSB.
And I'll get back to that because I think that's an interesting question, but I do want to hear Juan's story if he doesn't mind.
Yeah, quite similar aspects to each other, but my journey was a little different. I guess I would say I guess I would start off by just how I got in contact with just the justice system at first. I was part of the Department of Children and Family Services. That's how I got kind of in contact with the justice system. I was arrested just right off the beginning from just being taken away from my parents. And then that kind of led on to other things where I got kind of a couple charges on just assault and battery, just vandalism and other stuff like that. And just, possession of intent to sell. And then it just kept adding up one thing after another. And it was just going in and out of jail. And then at that point, there was certain things in my life that just were abruptly happening in a quick moment and stuff like that. And I just realized something clicked into me that I got tired of just looking over my back, risking my life every second, just risking my freedom. And I wanted something more out of life. I didn't know what it was or anything like that. And I just thought, I was like, maybe, I'll try to get a job. And I tried that for a couple of years, and I could not sustain a job. The longest job I had was a couple months, but that was because, that was even lucky even at that point. But I found it very difficult on having to be able to clock in and clock out at any time. So with that, I just feel like I just try to run my own schedule. I was so used to just running my own schedule at that time, and so it was really difficult to really sustain a job. And I was met with an ultimatum at that point, and it was I couldn't keep a job. They told me either get a job or go to school, and I had just gotten fired from my last job, and I just couldn't keep a job and stuff with that. So I was like, you know what, might as well just see what school has for me. And um, I didn't really think much of it. I ended up going to Glendale Community College, but that bus route was about 2.5 hours long, just there one way. So I was coming back and forth for about 4 hours or so, sometimes 5 hours, and it was just taking too much time. I'm like, this is school is not for me. It's taking me forever just to even get to campus. And next thing you know, I saw a flyer that a school down the street was actually accepting applications. So I ended up applying to Los Angeles Valley College. I made a quick transfer, and I was there for about 3.5 years, almost 4 years, because I didn't know what I was doing. I was just trying to take classes because I was like, hey, I'm taking in class just so I can meet the requirements, so I can get food stamps, so I can have a place to stay. And I was just trying to meet those government requirements, so I can get, assistance. And so I didn't really think much of it until, my last year and a half in CC in community college, that basically I started accepting help, and some of the mentors started coming into me and started just basically taking me under the wing, just telling me, how to do, what was I thinking of in the next future. And I was just like Melissa was stating, like, I was just trying to get my AA and just get out of there. I was just trying, I'm gonna get my AA, I'm done. And I was just trying to do that as fast as possible. And I have visited multiple campuses. I visited like all the UCs, all the Cal States down south. I visited some up north, and it just it wasn't for me. I'm like, this is higher education is not for me. I'm like, I'm barely learning how to finish writing a paragraph. I have to really have to learn how to punctuate correctly. So it was taking me quite a while to even get those aesthetic, those logistics correctly. That it was already, everything was too much, to the point that when it was application time, everybody was getting their acceptance letters, and I'm right there sitting. I'm like, okay, cool. Where's my acceptance letters? And I literally started making up. People started asking me like, where did I get accepted? That I was making up schools. I'm like, yeah, I got accepted here, because I didn't know what they were talking about acceptance letters. So I went to go talk to my mentor. I'm like, hey, what is this about acceptance letters? And they're like, did you apply? I'm like, I don't know what this application was. Like, I was naive about all that stuff, that I didn't know that I had to apply to the UCs or Cal States. So luckily I was missing some courses that had allowed me to kind of go an extra year and basically just kind of go take that year and stuff with them. That's where really I took one last final trip to UCSB. And the moment I just stepped off from that bus, a charter bus, and I stepped foot on campus, and I just looked at it, I got a sense of chills. And I don't know what it was. And I just looked at my mentor. I'm like, I haven't even seen the rest of the campus, but something about this campus is calling me here. Like, I just felt that it was like I had to be here for some reason. I didn't know what my purpose was or what my calling was until I got here. And obviously after a few years or so that I've been here, it's been apparent to me what was my reason here. But after, going through that tours of that, just learning the rich history of Cesar Chavez, Dolores Huerta, and how they walked these halls, and the Black Panthers taking over North Hall, everything, just the activism, the richness activism of this campus, like of the BIPOC individuals and BIPOC population. Like, I was like, this is the campus for me. And that right away I tagged the campus, and I didn't know what I was doing, but little by little, I applied to 13 universities. I got accepted to 10 of them. And I already knew UCSB was going to be my choice. But something, I waited to the last minute, and then right before I even accepted it, was like 10 minutes prior to that deadline of accepting the university that you were going to go and attend. And I just ended up switching my major to Chicano studies. I was a sociology major. I did transfer with an AAT in sociology, but I just made a transition to Chicano studies and a minor in applied psychology. And since then, like Melissa was stating, like, Flacco, Ryan Rising, he was already here kind of establishing this program, trying to get it going and stuff like that. And I just got in contact with him. I got in contact with Gilbert Murillo, and they were the ones really trying to push it and stuff like that. And, I just tagged along. I just, rode the way with them and stuff like that. And luckily, last year, basically, we were finally established as a full program on July 1st, 2022. So that was really, been going on. But since I've been here, I've done that. I've been part of the tryout for Honor Society, which is a first-gen honor society that I was part of co-founding as well, of establishing there on campus. I also helped launch a Propel, basically a mentorship program for freshmen that is called Propel. It's promoting equity and learning for individuals. And so it's been apparent of what my purpose has been since I've got here, of being able to kind of co-found a program, co-found a whole honor society, and co-found a mentorship program here on campus that's been able to, all of them being able to be sustained and stuff like that. It's been, that was my purpose, and I didn't know what my purpose was until I got here. But yeah, that's my little story of how I got here.
Well, thanks. So Melissa, are you able to share a little bit about how Flacco went about creating the program and, kind of his role in everything?
Yeah, I actually think that would be a great question for Juan, because Juan actually started off with Ryan from the beginning. And I think he can give a little bit more detail on how that came about and how they started that process, because they have really set out to build a beautiful program here at UCSB.
Yeah, like I was saying, it was him, it was Ryan Rising, Flacco, and Gilbert Murillo that were first here. They were undergrads, and luckily they have moved on to pursue higher education in the PhD programs. And it was tough. It has been slow, but the reason has been slow that it's been going in the right way, in the right direction. And that's how we know the program been going slow. But his role was more of that. That's like Melissa's role is now. It's just that coordinator position, that director position, and it was just spearheading. Everything was just spearheading, but just studentless, and it was meeting with vice chancellors, meeting with the assistant vice chancellors, meeting with certain individuals, and meeting the spaces to just advocate that this program is needed, and this program is vital for this certain population to be able to get their needs met. And it took some time. It took a lot of meetings, a lot of battles, a lot of sweat and tears and stuff like that. And but it took a lot of meetings, lots and lots of meetings, just sitting down, advocating, negotiating with these individuals to really just ensure them that it's just not us, but it's for future generations, for many individuals that are coming behind us that need these vital resources, that need these the basic needs met, so they can be able to be just students and be able to be here for the academia instead of having to work 2 or 3 jobs to pay for the rent while there's their GPA or the academia is plummeting. So then that's what we're trying to avoid and stuff like that. And this is what this program is here for, to ensure that their basic needs are met, so they're able to kind of focus more on the academia and stuff like that. And Ryan did a great job the way he kind of just copied and pasted everything from Berkeley. This chapter is a chapter, like Melissa was stating, where it's a UC-wide program, and it established at UC Berkeley. So everything will just somewhat of a copy and paste, and here and there we'll just kind of just twist it and intertwine it to be more of the UC Santa Barbara population. And it was just more of just the advocating. It was just a lot of advocating, meeting with funders, and ensuring just the vice chancellor and the chancellors basically that this program is needed on campus. And it took a lot of just more of using their language with them to so they can be able to kind of understand of the need for this program. And like I said, Flacco did a phenomenal job working with many close individuals, UCI wide, statewide, to basically ensure that we were able to kind of just copy and paste the program and basically just bring it over here to UCSB.
Seems like both of you were motivated to go back to school because you were having difficulty finding a stable employment after being incarcerated. And you know, it just seems like we've put up so many barriers. We want people that were incarcerated to get their lives back together, but then we make it impossible for them to do so. You know, how has education really helped change the game for you?
I mean, that's absolutely true. I think that there's so many expectations for people that have been in the system that you know, we can just come out and change our lives, and obviously we can, but the resources are so limited. So it's like, how are we supposed to navigate through something that we've never navigated through before? And that is, you know, the life of not being in jail or doing drugs and doing all the things that, you know, we're looked down on. I would say for me, getting an education meant that I would have a degree. It's this piece of paper that shows that I worked hard for where I am today. And there was, in my life, there's been so much that has been stripped away from me. There's been my dignity, my pride, my freedom, my choices. And whether or not those were self-inflicted, those were still stripped away from me. And I knew that getting an education meant that that was something that would never be able to be taken from me, because this is something that I worked for, and I worked my butt off for this, you know, and it was mine, and it's forever going to be mine, something that I'm going to be proud of, and something that I can take with me so many places. You know, it opens, you know, the fact of the matter is having an education and having that degree opens so many more doors. So it was kind of like it was like an absolute thing. Like I had to get my education. Like there was no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Like if I wanted to really change my life around and do something different with myself, I had to get an education. Like there was no other way. And other, you know, that might not be the case for other people. You know, everybody has their own experiences, but in my case and many others that I've seen, the best route to go was to get an education, because we need to, in order to change the system and to change these things and to allow more resources so people can change their lives, we have to have a voice. And I feel like our voice isn't as loud if we don't have the education behind it.
I was tired of being, you know, arrested, you know, being harassed here and there. And I always knew what I wanted to do, stuff like that, and helping youth, because helping youth and working with youth, that's where I emphasize in. And it just, I didn't know how to get there. I didn't know how to achieve that. I didn't know how to do that due to what you mentioned earlier. It's that double whammy. You know, we go to, you know, we get incarcerated, go to jail, and we do our time, but we come out, society still holds us against that of what we did and the punishment. And it just, you know, it's hard to, like you mentioned, hard to get a job or even sustain that job due to not knowing how to navigate those spaces. So it becomes another challenge is to even know how to survive in the streets of the, knowing how to reacclimate into just that, you know, that civilian life. And without those mentorship, without that assistance, so that just becomes nearly impossible to just be, you know, not falling back and just, you know, you become another ratio in that recidivism rate where you just fall back into those habits that you know how to do and just survive. So I knew that, you know, I didn't want to keep doing that. And the only choice people kept telling me that I kept understanding was that education was going to be the key to life. And I just didn't understand what that meant. And like when Melissa was stating, it's just, it has to be the right time for the right person for them to kind of understand and see and basically have their minds awoken and basically just realize, what they want in life. It took me almost 25 years to realize that the way I was living wasn't the way I wanted to live the rest of my life, that I wanted something better out of life, that I wanted to not be looking over my shoulder, like, okay, like, I'm risking my life, I'm risking my freedom because I'm trying to make another dollar to go get a bite to eat. And I knew that I wanted to survive in the right way and be a productive member of society, even though all these oppressions are against me, that I had to kind of, somehow go through that. And like I said, it has to be the right time, because I hated school. I was never good at school and stuff like that. And I barely got through school, and it was only due to sports. So sports saved my life, and that's what allowed me to graduate. If it wasn't for sports, I would have never graduated high school. But even saying that, it just, I knew that once that I saw those signs of Glendale Community College, Los Angeles Valley College, I knew that, and having that ultimatum where my life was either go to school or find another job, it just had to be the right time. And that was the right time for me. That I had just gotten out of, I had just gotten released, stuff like that, for something petty crime, stuff like that, because I was just, it was some past tickets and stuff like that. And so at that point, I was like, this is what I don't want to do. And I started realizing that once I started going to school, that I wasn't getting into trouble. That I started, I started doing, not that I wasn't getting into trouble, that I started doing better, but I was like, I was going in the right direction, and I started learning skills that, were vital in just in this professionalism way to, being able to do a good interview, marketing and stuff like that. And I started learning all these skills that I needed, just the resources being able to be available to me. And once I saw those resources and I gained those resources, it opened my eyes that I knew I wanted to continue higher education. And little by little, at first, when I first started going there, I didn't know I was just trying to get my A and be done. But like I said earlier, but 2 years into that, I started realizing that I found my personal purpose and what I wanted to do, and help youth and just being that credible messenger and being able to tell my narrative. Then I've been there, I've done that. I've been to the end of the road. Here's my narrative. I'm here to teach anybody what's right from wrong, because obviously everybody knows what's, most people know what's right and wrong. But at the same time, I just want to know people know, like, I've been there, I've done that. Maybe you want to, change a little direction, change a few things in your life that might not get you to the end of the road and stuff like that. But if it does get you to the end of the road, you can at least say that, somebody told you so, because I was sitting there, I'm like, nobody told me this. And I would blame myself and stuff like that. And that's not the way to be living, stuff like that, So I just, get into education, stuff like that. I knew that, that was my purpose. And the only way for me to reach those goals was to continue my higher education and talking to those mentors, talking to those individuals, and just accepting the help that was in front of me was very crucial for me to really understand and realize that higher education was going to be the key for me to have the life that I wanted to live and have without having to look over my shoulder and just risking my freedom on a daily basis.
And then earlier this year, there was a newspaper article on an incident that happened at UC Santa Barbara where they rejected formerly incarcerated students. Can you guys discuss that a little bit and what happened?
Yeah, it's a sticky situation. That's the best way that I can really put it. It's a very sticky situation. At the end of the day, it's just been a miscommunication and the best way I can put it is that the UC system, especially UCSB system of the graduate application, is outdated. And there's certain things that were supposed to be sent out, like certain letters of recommendation, reminders to certain professors, stuff like that weren't sent out and stuff like that. So it was a big old miscommunication that at the end of the day, certain individuals weren't accepted. And without saying, I guess, too much, it was a big miscommunication between just the departments, the UC system itself, and just the students that were applying and stuff like that. As apparently towards the end, there was some misplaced paperwork by the UC system, and then there was some misplaced emails by the letters of recommendation that were supposed to be sent out. So it was just all this sticky situation, to the point that by the time everything was kind of figured out, it was kind of too late. So the way the chain of events were happening at that moment, there was no other way to kind of see it as a way of retaliation of. And then basically she's actually not here no more. That she kind of retired and stuff like that. But when we asked her what was the main reason of none of the students basically being accepted to the graduate department, her reason was basically, the way she kind of put it was, I'm leaving anyway, so I can care less. And that's the way she put it. And we were like, well, at that point, there was nothing that we could do or say, as it was already a done choice. But obviously, they did get accepted to other departments, but it's just the way the chain of events were happening at the time, that it just seemed that it was just too of a coincidence not to tie it all in together and be like, this is a form of retaliation to basically co-opt the program and stuff like that. But luckily, some of our programs, some of our members stayed. Melissa was able to kind of step into that director's position role. So then basically everything kind of just played out in its way also with that. And the department kind of came back and did apologize, and we did apologize back to them. And we're just a big old sticky situation, misunderstanding and stuff like that. And at the end of the day, it was just due to just the outdated system that the UCSB is still using for the graduate application programs and stuff like that, and for the certain departments, because every department works on a different level and stuff like that. So each one needs to kind of update their system, which means it hasn't really been updated since like 1980 or something like that. That's been really outdated. But that was a little sticky situation.
Well, we're just about out of time, but I was hoping you guys could both briefly just convey a message to the broader community about how they should view, formerly incarcerated students and the program in particular.
Yeah, just, first of all, foremost, not a lot of these individuals know that their system impacted themselves. And what that means is just, either having a friend, family, loved one that's been incarcerated themselves, and they know what that pain is, which means that their system impacted themselves. And not many of these individuals realize that. So just realizing that and knowing that, it's okay to accept that. And then basically that, there's programs on our level, at the UC level, here to provide those resources and assistance for this population. Is vital for this community to understand that there are programs out there and there are assistance out here for these individuals to help out.
Melissa?
I think it's so easy for society to put this idea of what they think formerly incarcerated and system impacted students and it's a formerly incarcerated community is, right? I mean, we think of formerly incarcerated, and I feel like a lot of times it's looked at such a negative, in a negative light. But the key word there is formerly incarcerated. We're no longer behind those bars. We're out here trying to survive and trying to thrive in a society that everybody else is day to day. And especially for the formerly incarcerated system impacted student population, we need to be respected in these spaces just as much as everybody else, just as much as all of these other students are, because we also have, if anything, we've come from a background of struggles that a lot of people just that don't understand, and we can add so much more value to these spaces, like a university. I know, like, being a sociology major, I'm able to bring a piece of my background and my history to my classes and share my stories, and I need to be understood, and I feel like having a program like Underground Scholars gives us students that come from that population the opportunity to share our stories in a safe place, and to also show other people that getting a higher education, it doesn't have to be so restrictive. We do have this opportunity, we can add so much to these spaces, and we can achieve all the great things that everybody else is achieving, and we don't have to be limited by our past. And as a matter of fact, I feel like my past has only given me a lot more power to be able to grow in these spaces. So I encourage, whoever is out there and you're thinking about pursuing an education and you're just not sure if you're able to because of your record, because you've done A, B, and C, that's bring that experience to your education, and use that as a way that you can help other people. So if you have questions, reach out to us. We want to learn more about Underground Scholars. Please email us, undergroundscholars at Gmail. Or you can email me, Melissa Ortiz at ucsb.edu, and I'd be more than happy to set up a meeting, answer questions. We would love to continue to grow this population, continue to expand this program here, and work with the community as well, because I firmly believe that getting an education is the key.
Thank you so much, guys, for coming on and sharing your stories. These are so powerful stories, and they're powerful illustrations that people can turn their lives around through education and perseverance and hard work. This has been Everyday Injustice. I'm your host, David Greenwald. Join us again next time for more tales from the injustice system.
Thank you to George Powell and Norman Mousequake Barrett for the use of our opening, Everyday Injustice. You can see more of George's music at www.justiceforgeorgepowell.com. That's Justice for George Powell, all one word, .com.